In this episode of Patriot Games, the Patriot Campers crew are on their way to Cape York and the boys get a chance to explore North Queensland from the ground.
Do you know where it is or no?
And from the air. Justin gives the twins an environmental lesson they'll never forget.
Watch it, Yanni, watch it.
And the hunt for the legendary Barramundi is on.
Stop it. Oh.
But when they're not biting for Rob, Justin has a plan to find the ultimate untouched fishing spot with his old man.
Look at that barra.
Sheet metal was my livelihood, but I never thought I'd be building gear like this. Every week, we turn tons of steel into rolling works of art. Some of the toughest gear in the world comes out of this factory. Building this gear is only half the fun. No one tests like we do.
That's it, mate. Dude, I've got it.
My passion has taken my family to the edges of the earth. Life's a game. We know how to play it. Patriot Games.
It's 3 a.m. and Justin and the crew are up early after settling into camp the night before. It's day 2 of a research and development trip for Patriot Campers, Justin's business, and they've camped on a river in the remote North Queensland region just north of Cooktown. Far North Queensland is home to some of the best fishing in the world, and the crew are up early to check tides and load the gear into the water.
The creek that we were staying on, it led out into a river mouth that actually opened up into Princess Charlotte Bay. Now, the tide was going to be at the highest at about 3:30 in the morning, so we got up super early. We had the Polarises running. It was a real team effort to get everything down into that creek.
Bobby is Justin's brother, and he couldn't shake the thought of what might be lurking in the creek around the camp.
Quite excited actually waking up on the first night, actually being alive. Unfortunately, I'm the only guy that got put on the floor. Only one that didn't have somewhere safe to put their swag.
Morning, mate. Morning.
Stick your head out.
Oh, super right.
Stick your head out. You survived the night, mate?
Yeah.
Yeah? Salty didn't get you?
Look, I got a fortress. I'm safe.
I reckon that crab pot would have barricaded you in all right.
Built a bit of barricade around my swag to make sure that that big croc that we saw the night before wasn't going to come and get me.
But I figured if he hit the fortress, then he would have got the heaven.
Having the rangers there with us, it makes everything accessible, it makes everything just that much easier. We've got the little fold-out boat trailers there for the tinnies. Once we loaded everything into that water, instantly, one of the things that started going through my mind was crocodiles. Now, the night before, we had a massive croc come into the river just in front of the camp. I was on the sat phone, I was walking along the river's edge, and I heard this eruption in the water, looked down, and there was a pretty big salty down there. Look, for me this morning, it was all about the adventure. It wasn't really so much about the fishing. Now, fishing for me, I definitely enjoy it, but it's not what I come up to Cape York for. That adventure of being in the boats, heading down that tiny little creek, hitting the rock bottoms, seeing all the boys' head torches like UFOs coming down the thing.
I haven't done much of that sort of real hardcore forward driving or exploring like how these guys roll, you know, so I've got to be honest, it was a bit eerie going down there, but having Justin there that's done plenty of this stuff before, I knew we were in good hands, but, you know, before you know it, you're still looking over your shoulder and you're still looking around and you're hearing all the noises, so it is a bit freaky.
Stay right till you're halfway down and come left.
So what do you reckon, boys? Is this a bit of adventure or what?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We're in that river we were watching those crocs in last night.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all right. We've got the gun with me. We've got the boys behind us. All is good.
Yeah.
But it feels like a dream world ride, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it does.
No? Well, you're waiting for some mechanical stuff to start jumping out of the trees?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's all going to be worth it. As soon as we get down to that river mouth, the sun will be up. We're going for that barra.
It was a little bit nerve-wracking heading up the creek. We did actually head up there the day before, and we realised that there's a lot of sandbars and a lot of rocks where we actually had to hop out and drag the boat over or push the boat around certain obstacles. The only difference was now we're doing it at 3 in the morning, pitch black. On our way down, shining the torches and spotlights and that around, we saw a few eyes in the water, which made it even a little bit more nerve-wracking. Weren't exactly that game to get out of the boat this time around, so we've got a few sticks to push ourselves over all the sandbars.
We've got these bamboo sticks and we're trying to get over the top of the rock bars, and it was just, the adventure was just absolutely unbelievable.
We're on the bottom, boys. It's stick time.
It's stick time. Stick time. Pass me a stick.
We're gondoling.
Oh, yeah.
Is gondoling a word? Gondoliering?
Yeah.
Gondoling? Leave your stick, Dad.
Yeah.
And the kids are really good when they're inside the boat. They stay right in the centre of the boat and we're constantly watching out. Now, me and Benny, we've got like 4 sets of eyes when we've got the kids around us. Looking up the creek, down the creek. The great thing about the crocs is the reflection that you get from their eyes. If they're around, you're going to spot them a fair way before they spot you.
And we're off.
And we're off.
We're rolling.
Can't me roll. All the sandbars and stuff.
Okay, cool. So when we get up around this corner, we want to stay hard left, right?
Yeah, hard right.
See this?
Hard right.
No? Oh, yeah, hard right.
Quite a magical moment, especially right at the end there before we came to the mouth of the river system. It was right as the sun was rising, and we could just start to see the sides of the riverbank coming as the sun came over.
The water started getting a little bit deeper. So we went from a real slow pace of dragging everything over the rock bars and the sandbars to really starting to use the motors. We're motoring down the creek, the sun's starting to pop its head out. We could see on the HEMA, Christian was navigating the whole time, so we knew exactly where we were and just how much further we had to go to get into the mouth of the river. As we turned that right-hand corner, the whole river just opened up. The colour of the water started to change. We got the boats up on the plain and we just started motoring out towards the river mouth.
Sun-drenched, open and free. We are the people of the southern century.
Me and the twins and Benny, we took off and we were heading out and towards the open ocean. Now, it was dead calm. It was an absolute glass out at that time of the morning. The water was so spectacular, we just wanted to keep going. And because we've been in that deep water for a while, I really didn't think twice. But sure enough, we found the bottom again. We're at full tilt on the plane, heading right out into the mouth of the river, into the ocean, and bang, hit the bottom. At that point, pulled the motor up, we spun the boat around, and we kind of just chugged it back up into the deeper water to meet up with the other guys.
So you guys are heading back this way?
Yeah, mate, we're heading back towards you. Don't come down towards me. It's real shallow. It got down to about 100 mil.
Alright, fine. We'll fish up here. We found a little hole up here. We're going to go through it, flick it over in.
Yeah, sweet, mate. Head up there and we'll meet you up there.
So once we caught up with the boys, look, we knew that it was too shallow to actually head out into the ocean that way, so we dragged the tinnies up onto a sandbar and we walked over this little ridge, and there it is in front of you, Princess Charlotte Bay. You can see all the reefs, crystal clear blue water. You can see a couple of the islands out there into the distance, and we had a bit of a moment there just looking around and really started taking in actually just where we were. We've been in the mud and the red dirt for a couple of days now, so it was nice for a change to have clean white sand in between your toes. Me and the boys went exploring up the beach a little bit just to see what was around. Sure enough, that moment was pretty short-lived. The boys were itching to catch a barra. So they took off in one direction, we went off in the other direction, and the competition was on. Now, once we got into one of those little barra-looking type areas, and even from the little experience that I've got, I really wanted Benny on the rod. So we quickly grabbed him out from behind the lens, put a bait caster in his hand, and sure enough, Benny was off, flicking lures all around the joint.
Benny, the cameraman, is a mad keen fisherman and by far the most experienced in the crew.
One thing I love about fishing is showing other guys the stuff that I know, and especially young kids, you know, they're the sort of the next generation of fishermen and all the rest of it. So to show the kids just little things like little tips on where the fish are going to hang, how to use the rod and reel, where to sit on the boat, and just all those little tips you can get fishing and boating. Hopefully they can take it on and go further.
You're on, mate. You're on. You dropped him. Dude, that was a little barra. Little baby one. That's all right. We'll go for another one, eh?
Yeah.
It happened.
Now, I've never used a bait caster or flicked a lure before, so we spent a bit of time on the sandbar. The boys showed me how to do it. I set the rod up and off we were.
We had Benny in the other boat, and he's obviously a bit of a pro fisherman to us all. We stayed back a little bit while they took off up the river, flicking some lures, got a few little fish here and there. We started to get a bit nervous that Benny might be beating us, so we chased after him, headed up the river to find them.
All right, Johnny, you're on. What do you got? Wind him. Slow down.
The goal was to try and get the kids a fish, and I thought the easiest way would be to troll a bank for the kids. They can troll a lure out the back, and you get all sorts of stuff like threadfin salmon, mangrove jacks, barra.
Slow down. Just fight him. Slow down. Keep it going. Oh, look at that, mate. Little Jack. Well done. Yes. Here we go. Let a bit out. Yeah, mate. Good job. Little Jack, let a bit of line out, mate. Push the button.
And to see his face when he was winding in was pretty special, and you know that we've done a good job to get him onto that fish.
Yeah.
That's your first mangrove jack, yeah?
Yeah.
Mate, awesome. There he goes, mate. Well done. Good job, buddy.
Benny the cameraman is a mad keen fisherman, but even experienced fishermen get caught out every once in a while.
While we were in search of the barra, we were chasing after Benny to see where he was and what he was doing. Our magical pro fisherman. Unfortunately, Benny managed to catch himself rather than catch a fish, which was pretty funny to see him with a lure hanging out of his mouth. I'll let him explain that one to you.
Well, everybody has embarrassing moments, and I had one of those on this trip. I've hit a few snags, and I was trying to get deeper and deeper into the snag and got wrapped around a couple of logs here and there and bits and pieces. That's pretty much where you got to put them to catch barra, because that's where they live. And I got a bit lazy, and I was flicking this lure off a snag, flicking, and I just sort of got distracted and I looked around and I kept flicking, and before I know it, I flicked it. It's just slingshot and got me right in the face. And Justin's looked at me like, oh my God. I'm like, had a lure pinned right between my nose and my lip. I looked at him like, how deep? And he's like, we've got to do surgery on this one. So he got the pliers out, ripped it out. We didn't have to get it on camera, which is lucky for me because I had the camera and I wouldn't let them use it. But anyhow, they got the lure out and we continued on. And at that stage, Bobby and the other crew have overtaken us, and off they went to try and get a barra.
The competition's stiff, with both groups vying for the first barra of the trip.
Now, they're following us up the river and they're making sure that they're in the competition as well. And sure enough, you heard the yells and screams, Bobby's on, he's got a fish.
And boom, felt this big smash straight on my line. A lot stronger than any of the other fish that had bit on it in the morning. Started pulling it in, and there we go. Saw that first barra launch out of the water. What an exciting feeling that one was.
Come on.
Johnny just dove on it with the net to make sure we secured it.
Well done, mate. First barra. First barra of the trip. They're here.
She's only a little one, but she's going to taste nice.
That's your first barra ever, isn't it?
Ever.
Mate, well done. Awesome. Don't put your fingers under those gills.
We've got dinner.
It was a pretty exciting moment when I got that first barra, knowing that I had all the boys watching, a pro fisherman with me, my little nephews with us, a fish that I've been chasing for a long time, finally been able to hit that. Amazing feeling.
Justin's brought his twin boys along for the trip, and while they're only young, this isn't their first time helping Dad out on the water. The changing tides have blocked access back to camp, and lunch is on everyone's minds, especially the twins.
Dad, do you copy?
Got you.
Where are you guys? Have you made it down to the beach?
Tom completely got away with us. Now, I heard a crackle come over the sea bay and I could hear Dad's voice coming through. We motored up the creek a little bit further towards camp and we got Dad into reception.
All right, well, this tide's dropped right down. There is absolutely no way we're going to get back to camp. We're going to have to wait it out until the next high tide, I think.
Yeah, I can see that here at base camp. We've got the same problem. The tide looks super low. I didn't think you'd be able to make it back. Keep us posted if you want us to do anything.
The tide had dropped that much, there was absolutely no way that we were getting back up that river to camp. We had to wait until the next high tide. So I told Dad what was going on. We were starving down there and we only had a limited amount of water with us.
Bobby, where are you, mate?
Yeah, we're up on the where we were before, looking out to the ocean.
You're down at the mouth of the river. Did you get down there all right?
There's quite a few shallow spots trying to get through, but you can make it through, especially with your boat. You're lighter than us.
You reckon we should come down there and just wait this out, eh?
We were stuck. There was no way of us making it back.
The kids are getting pretty hungry. Can you just pick us up a, what do you want, Christian? A quarter pounder meal?
Yes, please.
And Ash?
I'll take a Mac.
All right, and Ashton a Big Mac meal, and just get me a couple of cheeseburgers, mate.
Yeah, I already grabbed a couple flushies from 7-Eleven, and I've got the guys from Zarappa's making us coffees now.
Yeah, double shot cap. We'll see you in a minute. All right, mate. All right, boys. So it's going to be a long day, a really long day. We're going to wait for this tide to change. We'll go down. We'll meet up with the other boys. Yeah?
Yeah.
We'll hang out down there, see if we can find something to do.
Are you going to come up here and something to eat?
Yeah, mate. We'll come down.
So you get that barrel?
The boys regroup at the mouth of the river, and the sound of Bobby's barra cooked over coals has everyone's mouths watering.
No time for the tag.
So did you say you got
We'll get a fire going, eh?
Did you say you got a knife?
Yeah.
When the boys decided to cook the barra on the coals and the fire, up on the bank, I was pretty excited. I actually haven't even done that sort of stuff with the Barramundi. I've done coral trout and different species, but I've never had the barra on the coals. So when the boys started getting the fire together, I was getting pretty excited, and fresh Barramundi straight out of the ocean is pretty hard to beat.
We need some tinder. We need some grass. Boys, you want to see if you can find some? Oh, yeah, where'd that come from? That's what we need.
We decided to pull up in a sandbank and cook the barra. Now, we had a few crab pots in the boat. They hadn't been put in the water yet, and me and Johnny decided it's time to go get some crab.
But the twins are starving and can't wait, so Justin radios his old man to camp to see if he can help.
Any chance you can get us down some food?
Didn't have much luck getting down. I think I have another plan though. Sit tight, I'll get it down to you.
Yeah, no dramas, thanks.
Now, when I said to Dad, I kind of threw it out there as a bit of a joke. Dad, we need some lunch, can you bring us down something? I thought possibly if they found the inlet and they got down to the mouth of the river, we might have been able to meet up with them and get them to drop us off some supplies. But Dad had already had a plan. Look, little did I know, earlier that morning after we'd left, the helicopter pilot, Bungie, he'd actually landed down at camp and he was having a bit of a chat with my old man.
I don't know, but that sounds like lunch.
Probably about 20 minutes after that conversation with Dad, I could hear in the distance rotor blades. Now, the helicopter, I could hear it coming down that river, and I knew straight away, there wasn't a shadow of doubt in my mind, that Dad had organised for Bungie to drop us off some lunch.
Good on you, brother. Thanks, mate. See you, boys. Lunch. And that's how you get lunch delivered in Cape York. Don't need McDonald's up here, boys. Let's go eat. Hey, Dad, you on channel?
Yeah, gotcha.
That is unbelievable. Where the hell did you pull that from?
Just so it happened, the helicopter was here, you guys needed food, so it just worked out perfectly.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty cool stuff in my life, but you know what? Getting lunch flown in by a helicopter on a remote beach up in the Cape when you're stranded waiting for a tide, that's unreal. Thanks, Dad. We'll see you in about 3-4 hours.
Enjoy. I'll see you this Arvo.
Jamie and Johnny have just dropped in a couple of crab pots and have decided to try their luck with the rods.
5 minutes into it, bang, got myself a barra. I don't know whether that was luck, skill, or being in the right place at the right time, but I'd rather be lucky than good, and I was definitely lucky.
Now look, growing up in Australia, you see a lot of different things on TV, but we had one of those real Malcolm Douglas moments, cooking fish on an open fire.
A big highlight of that day was being able to cook that barra on an open fire and eat it straight out of the ocean. Doesn't get any fresher than that.
Justin prepares the barra for the weary crew and the kids experience a proper bush meal.
Ready? Christian, Ashton, come over here, get a bit, please.
Is it hot?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
It's not every day you get to explore a sandy cape, and all the boys wanted to do was chill out underneath a tree. I grabbed the twins, we went for a walk and we started to explore. And once again, I got to spend some quality time with my nephews.
With the harsh North Queensland sun beating down and with very little shade, the boys take advantage of the rising tide and head back inland to camp.
Now, once we arrived back into camp, it was really evident just how big the day had been. Everybody was sunburnt and I'm sure a little bit of sunstroke. But you know what? That wore off in about 10 minutes' time.
2, 3. Woo!
Somebody mentioned, let's go for another recon. Let's get on the Polarises. Sure enough, adrenaline pumps back in, everybody's ready to go, and off we went.
The crew are towing 2 6-metre toy haulers carrying buggies and quads on the back, handy for scouting around camp and for a bit of fun.
We knew if we got down to that beach that it gave us endless options of different river mouths to fish, so we really wanted to get down there. That's what this afternoon was going to be about. Now, the boys had half an idea because they said they got close. But look, having Tommy, the Englishman, as the main navigator, to be honest with you, I don't think he really had that much of an idea on where he was going.
Hey, Joe, do you know where it is or no? We did get to the fence line.
But which track is it again?
Well, because we've done this a couple of times,
He can't remember either.
This way, was there nothing down there? Did it look like we turned around? Yeah, so this way.
That goes through the trees and stuff.
Yeah, that's where we got to go.
Okay. Now, one of the tracks that we were heading down led into this massive big swamp, and the boys had actually hit it earlier on in the day, but they weren't really prepared to cross it. We know what the capabilities are of all the Polaris gear. Now, once we hit it, no hesitation. This trip just keeps on getting better and better. Flying around in those Polarises, late afternoon, the sun's starting to set. I've got my kids with me, I've got my old man, all of my brothers. The smiles on everyone's faces is something I'll never forget from that day. Didn't want to spend a night out on the salt flats, so we decided to turn around, defeated by this country once again. But on the way home, in true form, Johnny struck again. Now, following the track back through that swamp that we just come through, he made a left turn, didn't turn right, ended up in some really deep water and swamped the Polaris.
Johnny had struck again, but I knew there must be a little bit more to this. These things don't just stop in that little bit of water. We pulled the buggy out, got it up onto high ground. Lo and behold, there was no sump plug in the bottom of the belt drive. It wasn't Johnny's fault this time, but no one was going to tell him. He's going to be copping it all night long.
As a father of identical twins, the question that comes up the most is, what are they like personality-wise? Are the kids the same? And you know what? Couldn't be farther from the truth. They're black and white, these two. They've both got their little traits and things that they're really good at and things they really enjoy. Now, it's pretty obvious throughout this whole trip and his whole life, Ashton's my wheelman. If there's something to be steered, that kid can steer it. Now, Christian's my little navigator. That kid overthinks everything. He has to know how everything works. He just can't let it go. As the sun goes down and the temperature drops in Cape York, it turns into a completely different place. Now, we're sitting around the fire, cooking a barbecue on open coals and having a few beers. What another ripper day in Cape York. But I tell you what, I've got a bigger plan for tomorrow.
The sun rises over camp, and Justin's got a plan for the day that will give him and his twin boys a bird's eye view of far north Queensland. with a little help from a friend.
We obviously ran into yesterday the helicopter pilot from the station, Bungie. He come and brought us lunch. Good on you, brother. Thanks, mate. See you, boys. We organised with him to come back this morning and show us around the property. Take us out to do some, let's call them activities for now. Bungie, Justin, mate, you on channel?
Yeah, coming, mate.
How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, good, mate. Good morning for it.
Yeah, beautiful morning, mate.
Kids are pretty excited, mate. We woke up a little bit later. We've been getting up before the sun every day. I was up at about 4 in the morning in the anticipation of what was going to unfold for the day, because I know the boys haven't spent any time with the helicopter up here. I have a few times now, so I had a little bit of an idea what to expect.
The twins have flown in helicopters before, but Justin reminds them just how important it is to be aware of your surroundings in and out of the chopper.
All right, boys, remember to stay inside, yeah?
Yeah.
No coming out the sides.
Okay.
Yeah? Listen, you remember, if you've got to get out the helicopter, you walk forward. Don't walk to the back, okay? Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Bungie's an experienced chopper pilot and has lived in North Queensland all his life. And no one knows the skies and the land better than this. And with a new perspective on their surroundings, the boys get an idea of just how diverse the local landscape is.
Seeing this country from the ground in the Polaris is one thing, but once you get up into the sky, everything changes. And you really get a true perspective on what this land is all about. There's so much diversity. Thick forest, big salt plains. The Flinders Islands are just outside off the coast as well. And you see all that swampland and so much activity. There's bird life, crocodiles, feral pigs in their droves, mobs and mobs and mobs of them. And the devastation that these things are causing up here, it's so noticeable when you get in the air. You see acres and acres and acres of prime land just completely destroyed by these introduced species.
Feral pigs are an introduced species to Australia that are notorious for turning acres and acres of lush green terrain into muddy swamps by uprooting vegetation. Up here, culling feral pigs is necessity, not a pastime.
To get up here and help these guys out was really a good thing for us. All right, boys, that's Princess Charlotte Bay out there on the left, yeah? Having the boys up in the helicopter with us, it adds a whole nother element because you're introducing these guys into a lifestyle that I'm obviously so passionate about. To get the kids up here and to see and experience everything that they learn in school, but to see it firsthand, that's the thing for me that really excites me about getting out here. Now they've gotten to that age, I don't like coming out here on my own. And they start educating me on history, like when we pulled into Cooktown. They start telling me about the Great Barrier Reef and talking to me about marine life, and they give me facts that I don't even know. So everything that they learn in school, it really gels when they get out into this country and get to experience it themselves. So as we come into one of the prime areas of the property, a real lush swampland, as you come into it, you start seeing all these holes, like an acre of mud in the middle of this green, and then they pop out and you see actually what's going on. Hundreds of pigs, mobs of them, and they're just owning the countryside up here. There's a mob there, right underneath us on the right there, mate. Yep, you got it? The majority of that mob, so all the sows will hang together and normally 1 or 2 boars. The boar's probably the one out the front. He'll be leading, the rest of the mob will follow him in. See that, boys? You see the mob?
But Justin's no stranger to wild boars, and he has a surprise for the boys that would bring them up close and personal with one of Australia's most dangerous introduced species.
I've never actually caught a pig by hand with no gun or no dogs. But to get there with the helicopter, and run one of those pigs down. Big bore, 110 kilo bore or thereabouts, to run him down and then jump out of that helicopter and get on top of him. Get that adrenaline pumping. You wouldn't get a rush like that anywhere else. Eddie, can we wind that down, Bungie? All right, boys, what do you reckon? 100 kilo pig by hand out of the chopper, eh? Watch it, Yanni, watch it, watch it. Now listen, I'll tell you the worst thing about these guys. What they can do with that little nose, you've seen all the damages we're coming through, what they do to the swamps. Tearing everything up, and they're trying to get to those bulbs, you know, those roots of all the plants and eat up everything. But what happens is, like a cow will chew from the top of the grass down and then it regenerates. These guys rip everything out by the roots. So everything that they pull out, and they can go through overnight in a mob and destroy acres, yeah? But the worst thing about these guys, see those hooks at the front? Mate, those things are razor sharp, and where they'll aim for an artery and they'll hit you in here, yeah? They hit you in there and they smash an artery, you're in trouble. And then their defence is they've got these big pads on the side here, see that? So when they fight each other and they smack each other in here, they don't penetrate it, they don't do any damage. Pretty nasty animal, eh? Yeah. Yeah? It's not like a koala or a kangaroo, is it?
Nah.
Introduced species, these things they're feral pigs. They're nasty things, eh? It feels good for me to know that we've helped out in our own little way.
After catching a wild pig by hand, the boys are back in the air for another scout around. But something's caught Bungie's eye down in the water.
So we're flying down the beach at 100 knots and we're sitting about 1,000 feet. And the bird's eye view that you get from up there, you see everything that's going on. And having an experienced pilot with us, there's not a lot that these guys miss that's going on at the ground. We flew over one of those inland creeks that's running up through the salt plains, and Bungie spotted a couple of really big barra.
Oh, look at that, boys. Barra. Look at that barra. Oh, my God, that's a big fish too, dude. That's all right, mate. That's all right. I can see it. That's a big barra.
Now, I knew the boys were back down on the beach fishing, and Dad still hasn't caught that barra. He's been talking about it for 3 or 4 days, let alone the years before that. So we flew down, I seen him having a cast in there on the beach with the rest of the boys, and the boys were doing all right, but Dad still hadn't hooked up. All the boys are catching barra, GTs, threadies, they're pulling fish up one after the other. Bang, I'm on. Bang, I'm on. Bang, I'm on. One after the other, these boys are catching barra. You on again, mate? This is ridiculous. You need to give Johnny some tips. That's a good fish, dude. Got him. Now you've actually got a fish you can brag about instead of that little thing you got yesterday. That's a solid fish, dude. Well done. Awesome. Well done. That's gold, mate. The twins were obviously with me in the helicopter, but within all the commotion, they've gone and pulled out a hand reel because none of the rods were left. They've baited up a hand reel with a livey, and mate, sure enough, bang, barra, straight on. You got one, mate? On the hand line. Pull him up, pull him up, pull him up, keep going. Dude, are you kidding? On the hand line. Oh my God. Dude, how is that?
It's awesome.
A barra on the hand line. There you go, that's yours. Hold on to him. Mate, that is gold. That is unbelievable. Look at that, nice fish, huh? And that was just another one of those moments that's gonna go down for this trip. Give him a kiss, get in there. Give him a, kiss it, kiss it.
Dad, this looks really fun and all, but do you want to really go fishing?
What are we doing?
Come with me, I've got a bit of a plan. Let's go catch a barra. Let's get him onto a fish the Cape York way. Spoke to Bungie, we hooked it up, grabbed the rods, threw him in the chopper, and we flew back out to the salt flats onto one of those little muddy rivers, and we went for a cast.
Justin's dad, Rob, is having a hard time landing his first barra, but Justin's got an idea. So it's back in the air with Bungie.
Dad, we saw a couple of monsters in a bit of a river system and we were flying back to come get you, yeah? No one knows this country up here like this bloke, so if this guy can't put us on one, I don't think he's going to get one.
Bungie's an expert in heli fishing and knows the waterways up here like the back of his hand. But while he can put you onto him, he can't make him bite.
Well, it's certainly different going fishing with a helicopter in a small, little secluded area in the middle of nowhere. And honestly, I don't even know how a helicopter could land there, but we did.
All right, Dad, come with me.
Going barra fishing was a whole different dimension. Never in the wildest dream did I think that I'd be catching one on a helicopter. It's one of those off the bucket list ticks.
Maybe we might just duck in here, have a little cast down in here. Well, not much luck here, Dad.
Unfortunately.
But you know what the big advantage of having a helicopter on disposal is?
I know.
We go somewhere else.
With no luck on their first landing, Bungie drops Justin and his dad down into another hard-to-get-to and muddy spot on the bank of the river.
Yep. Got one. Yep. Got him, Dad. I'll tell you what, Dad, that thing's not doing any good anyway.
No, I'm happy to try
I'm
this
catching
one.
the fish. Give that a
Let's
go.
go.
Yeah? Go
Yep.
sit in that hole down in there, Dad. You're on, Dad.
Oh, yeah.
You're on.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
on. Play him easy, Dad. Do not drop it.
I'm doing my best.
Get him out of that snag. Get him out of that snag. So when you hooked up that barrow, I thought you were going to drop it, eh?
So did I, son, for a minute there.
Yeah.
My heart was pounding.
You had a snag about that long wrapped around the line.
And I thought the snag was going to interfere with me pulling that barrow.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I was going to land it.
Keep it coming. All right, Dad, back up, back up. Oh, yes. Oh, you beauty. Back up, Rob. Keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. Oh, no, he's in that snag. Oh, no. Here, let me get the lever. Let me get, you're on, you're on. Pull him in, pull him in, pull him in, pull him in.
Woo-hoo.
Yes.
That's the first one.
Look at that, Dad. Yes.
Oh, my goodness, mate.
Yes.
Finally. Yes.
Your first barrow there, that's yours, Dad. Yes, Dad.
That's the one.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you,
Yes,
son.
well done.
Thank you.
Barra, look at that. What a beauty. What a beauty. Well done.
Was well worth it.
Can we get another one? I want one. Let's go. The one thing that was going through my mind, and I don't know why, maybe it's because of the kids, maybe you've outgrown it a little bit now. I'm thinking about crocs. You snag that lure up into that tree, you're up to your knees in that water. You hear what happens with the crocs up here, right?
Yeah, I know.
Well, Dad, just break it off. It's not worth it. Look how close you are there to the water. Come on.
No, you're right. I will.
Funny how things change, eh? Yeah? You used to talk to me like that. Get out of the water, come on.
Oh, well.
You don't even think about it when you got that
All
fish
I was
on
thinking
the
was
line.
about the barra.
Yeah, but you got it.
That's all that matters. I got the barra.
Well done, Dad. That's awesome. Let's go.
Mate, thank you very much. Son, what can I say?
Not a drama. What do you reckon, Dad?
What an experience.
Hey?
Magnificent.
You see why I've been coming up here all these
I
years?
get it. What
Yeah?
have I been missing out on?
First of many, I think.
We've been quadding around here for the last few days and I've seen the landscape and the difference between the salt flats and all the bushland. But seeing it from the helicopter, it's a total different perspective. It's completely different. You see all the rivers, the river systems, the wildlife, the birds, so different right there.
From Barramundi to saltwater crocodiles, far north Queensland is home to an amazing array of the wild and the wonderful.
So after we got back in from our Barra trip, you know, Dad's on cloud 9. Congratulations, Dad.
Thank you, Dad.
Yeah?
Thank you.
Boys took it upon themselves. They had a chat with Bungie. Bungie's decided to take him out in 2 lots. So the guys got to go out for a hunt. All right, boys, have fun. Have a ball. Probably one of the best moments of the day for me was actually seeing Tommy and my brother get out of the back of that helicopter. I already had a bit of a moment with Dad. You know, Dad catching that barra, that's about the peak that it's going to get for me on this trip. But seeing the face on Bobby and Tommy when they got back out of that helicopter, mate, I could see those guys were on cloud 9 as well. Mate, I haven't seen you glow like that in years. Me and Tommy have been hunting together for a long time, a long, long time. And that was his first time in a helicopter. Welcome to Cape York, boys. Yeah? Where's the next crew? Get them in the chopper. Grab your guns, let's go. For me, that was absolutely gold. See Bobby catch his first barra yesterday, get his first pig out of a helicopter. A lot of firsts happening on this trip. For me, that's where everything's really coming together and it makes it completely worthwhile, all of the effort that's gone into getting up here. So after such an epic day, the biggest day that we've had up here so far with machinery, all the boys, they're all standing around right now having a beer. Everybody's at the campfire. You thirsty?
I'm thirsty, son.
Beer?
Cheers.
Cheers, Dad. Cheers.
Next time on Patriot Games, the boys are heading north with a convoy of heavy touring gear. But the recent rain causes havoc when the boys get stuck one after the other.
So this is going to be your first winch recovery, buddy. Just head straight towards the road.
The R&D continues as Justin attempts to tow his latest trailer behind a buggy on the sandy shores of far north Queensland.
Oh, don't like that. Yeah, boy.
And the boys discover a secluded paradise which is almost perfect. Almost.
How was that rain and that wind last night?
Yeah, that was hectic.
That sucked, huh?